Now, if you have this progressive outlook and you believe that things are always getting better in history and industrial revolution is one step towards a higher stage of evolution and so on, you're never going to look back and learn anything from it. You're never going to believe that anything good was destroyed in the past. You'll always believe only bad things have been destroyed, good things have survived.
No, it'll get destroyed and then we start doing it.
But the point is that what Gandhi was sure about, and this is the instinct of the man because he didn't have the time to do the research on it, but he was right about it from instinct, was that there have been things in existence in this part of the world, whether they are governance systems or water systems or methods of cultivation or health systems, etc., which have sustained our people for centuries, against which there is this tiresome discourse of Amartya Sen and people like that, saying people were dying at the age of 23 and 40 and so on, as if that's not happening today also. And the point is, what is the peculiar creative genius of the people that has to be evoked? So for instance, Ujrama's work, which basically involves revival of a certain tradition of textile production and innovating on a basis which is pre-colonial, but taking it ahead. Still leaving economic power as much as possible and power over technological choices as much as possible in the hands of people. That is the way to think about many other areas, whether it's health or education and water, or so many things. And not think about them in segmented, fragmented ways as has become the habit with us today. And the way the internet prompts us to think. There are 20 topics, they're all separate from each other, they don't hang together. And so on. The point is that once you allow for the fact that there are things from the past to be revived and built upon, that those were disrupted traditions. This is my view of the Indian past, that we live in a derailed culture. Okay? All cultures of the modern world, I believe, are derailed. Some are more derailed than others. Some have pushed the others off the rails. Others have been pushed off the rails by the momentum of their own force, the West, in other words. So we live in a derailed culture, so many traditions have been disrupted. We actually do not know who we are as a people. We have lost sight of that. So first job of our generation and below is to recover sight of who we are as a people. What is our peculiar truth? What is our role in history in our part of the world? Before we think about others and what we have to give to them, let's think about who we are.
Yeah.
Now, this is where I find the whole contribution that Gandhi made through his actions and his writings, as well as what Tagore wrote and said in so many places, so valuable. It is a completely non-Eurocentric, non-Indo-centric, for that matter, perspective. It's a universal perspective. One of the few universal thinkers of the modern world. Okay? And we have not built on it because there was a rejection. There was a rejection of all things of the past. And Marxists and others constantly saying, oh, Gandhi wanted to take us back 500 years and 700 years and take us to pre-industrial age. Well, now 100 years later, we have all the ecological evidence to show who is right and who is wrong. And clearly Marx is the one who's on the wrong side. So one has to first face that fact of how lazy we've been as thinking people. And there is also a huge critique of power. You talked about power in institutions. Gandhi actually didn't think in terms of building institutions. This is again part of the language of modernity. Gandhi had, if you have faith in the people, then our job as people in the middle who have some sense of the injustices of the world and who are concerned about doing something, our job is to simply facilitate the self-activity that people are capable of. And then they will take it wherever they want to, okay, within limits, of course. I mean, for instance, just to give you an example, I'd gone to a place called Kolvan, which is a village in the lower reaches of the Narmada Valley. It's a twice displaced village. What's that dam in that part of Gujarat called? I forget the name of the dam, it will come to me. For that dam, they were displaced, and then when it got silted up, 40 years later, they were displaced again. So I went and spoke all these things there. This 7 years back I'm talking about. and some 2,000 people in the village, all of them were present to listen to what we had to say. At the end of it, an old lady comes to me and she says, I'm going to put it in English, she says, what you're saying is that these people want to get us out of the village and move to the cities and move into a palace which stands on our shoulders. Simple elemental wisdom, in the form of a metaphor. But that is exactly what Manmohan Singh was trying to say to people at that time. That's how this woman's wisdom interpreted it. My friend Ram Subramaniam works in Tamil Nadu. I don't know whether you met
Someone might.
So Ram has actually done significant amount of work studying the Jati Panchayats working within Chennai city. Mm-hmm. Now that is the kind of work which first needs to be done. There are Jati Panchayats working in the basti across the street from me in Vasant Kunj. I only have vague glimpses of it. But there are functioning systems. They may be just, unjust, gender, unjust, I don't know. I have a lot of questions about it. What I do know is that where the buck is involved, people don't make mistakes nowadays. You look at the drug and pharma companies which are globally agile, and who do they go to when they are looking for herbs? They don't go to MS Swaminathan or Amartya Sen. They'll go to the most elderly tribal ladies in, Arunachal and Nilgiris. So clearly they have a better instinct for truth than we do. Because this kind of a book, a white woman has written it. How come we have not written it?
He gave you stuff. She must have said that.
Correct. But enough of our people have actually immersed themselves there. But, this kind of work has not been done. Now, you might say Ladakh is local. It's just one place on the map. But for people living there, it's their world. It's the whole thing. There are outside influences which they need to understand and digest, and that's part of the reason that this Sangam is happening in Leh. But it's very important that the local not be understood just as the local, because it is also people's entire world there. And subjectively, I think Gandhi had that perspective of empathy which allowed him to see that the moment people start perceiving that life is elsewhere, all is lost. Life has to be here and now. It has to be very concrete, it has to be accessible, it has to be very real here. The moment, which is what so much of modernity has done, is everybody's got restless because you're thinking action is happening somewhere else. The mainstream is always somewhere else. And that has a very corrosive effect on cultural confidence. And why people want to move from the small village to the small town to the big city, to Paris, to Singapore, to London is exactly that. Because they feel they have nothing. And it is, I think, completely a self-misperception on the part of our ordinary people here. I'm not just talking about intellectuals, no. I'm talking about ordinary people. So it's that kind of cultural confidence that needs to be revived first before you can even take stock of the knowledge that is available with them in their life. And in oral traditions, you have to respect, a different kind of knowledge,
Is the local, sometimes I have questions about local itself. Or the village itself. It's a place of conformity. It's a place of to be part of a village. Differences are not celebrated. It's a part of, you have to be in a particular way, you have to live a particular lifestyle, you have to behave in a certain way, dress in a certain way. I'm just giving examples, but it's a place of conformity. And it is a place of feeling stifled. It can be. Very rarely, for example, for me, all the discussion about local is very interesting, but I don't know how village women feel about local. or local governance. It's a 50% population. It's completely stifling. It can be completely devoid of freedom. Freedom as in the way you say it, as in it's a creative freedom. And even the governance, for example, local governance systems. How does it does it have these systems in place? The idea of, for example, gender equality, it's not something which is, patriarchy is not only from the church. Patriarchy is very much part of our culture, right from thousands of years ago. It's part of almost every culture. In many indigenous...
Wait.
One minute, let me finish now.
Okay.
If we take the last 500 years, except for some of the indigenous populations, in terms of class, gender is a major issue.
Where is it
and
not?
Governance.
Where is it not?
Where is it not?
It's there in the cities.
It's there in the cities.
It's there in the
Exactly.
West.
It's there in the West. I'm not disputing that. What I'm saying is, when we talk about governance and local, this is one part which makes me uncomfortable. I'm telling you about...
But how come it doesn't make you uncomfortable when it comes to governance and global?
Who said that? She didn't
I
say
have
that.
never said that.
No, but the understanding that you're... one second, let me see if I understand you. Are you saying the cities mean more freedom than villages for women?
No.
You don't?